Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Legion Season 2, Episode 8. It's called Chapter 8. Sorry, it's Chapter 16. Damn it, I messed it up. Damn it. Chapter 16.
Knew it was going to happen at some point. We called this right at the start of the season.
Jeez, okay, now I'm a disappointment. Legion happened, and weird things happened, as per usual. Creepy Minotaur's back.
Yeah. Looks, it's such a fantastic design.
Is. If you don't remember where this came from, this was Melanie's head when we were inside her head that episode. Although I did actually see a screen grab. Someone pointed out you could see it in the background at one point in season 1.
Oh really?
Neat touch, little creepy Easter egg. Cool. This will be a show worth revisiting the whole thing once you know everything and going back and looking for the
definitely
the little seeds and clues and whatnot. So this episode was actually quite straightforward, pretty simple.
By Legion standards, I mean, sure.
I mean, it wasn't really. I'm joking.
I mean, I'm just saying. By Legion standards, it's as straightforward as any of them.
I don't know. I'd say it's more middle-ish.
Yeah.
It's not the most confusing it's ever been, but it's definitely not as simple.
It's not straight, no, but it's it's not the worst. So therefore, it could be worse.
It's not the worst, therefore it could be worse.
Exactly.
That is. I can't fault it.
It's accurate.
You're still an idiot, but I can't fault it.
But both of those things are true.
So, David concocts a plan, and he concocts a plan inside his chamber, and we see him putting all the pieces on the board, and he seems to go around and basically implants thought bombs in everyone's head, so they'll do what they need to do when the time comes, but without actually telling them the plan. Yeah,
because if they know the plan, then their minds can be read, and they'll just, plan ruined.
Yes. Unfortunately, though, it's debatable whether or not David foresaw this, but Melanie, at the end of the episode, is clearly reached out to by Oliver / Farouk, and is used to actually take out Clark, who was going to be part of the plan. But because this is the thing, so Sid gets really upset with him. She's talking to him early on in the episode and asks about how, "What, you're not talking to me in the future? Did we have a fight?" And it's kind of this almost like smirky, like, "Oh, did we have a fight? Should I be mad at you? What happened?" He's like, "No, we're just not seeing eye to eye. There's no fight." And he kind of brushes it off, and she really gets upset with him when he leaves. He leaves her a note. Just said, "I'm going to kill the bad guy. Going to kill the monster." Yeah.
At least he left a note.
Well, that's what he says. But I suspect, because he puts the thought bomb in Clark as well, I wonder if even the conversation that he ends up having with Sid was also intentional in some way.
You mean in the way that the conversation with Sid leads her to talk to Clark?
Yes. Well, not even just that, just what Clark says to her. Like, I'm wondering if...
Right, okay.
Like, because he talks about how, that this boyfriend he had would leave him with a parachute, and then Sid shows up to David in the desert with a parachute, which, by the way, that was, like, the most badass, like... It was so badass, but also really casual at the same time. She barely changed her clothes. She was still just wearing, like, her black outfit.
Yeah.
And she lands, she takes off the parachute, and she's just walking like the mad girlfriend. It's actually kind of really funny. It just walks up and kicks him in the shin. It's good stuff. It's actually really nice because she is kind of like theorizing, like she's talking to Clark about, I love what we were, I'm not sure if we still are, like, he lies, but I don't know if he knows right from wrong, like, how do you treat someone how to be normal when you're one of a kind? That was a really good line, I thought. But she's theorizing all this stuff, and she's, like, debating, like, is he trustworthy? Clark, of course, is very paranoid. He's like, yeah, but if you piss him off, could he, like, not end the world with his powers? Is that not a concern? And it all boils up to her just walking up, hitting him a couple of times and saying, "You idiot, I'm on your side. No matter what future me said or did, I'm on your side, you tit." And then, okay, fine. Future, you had this plan, but I don't think it's a good idea. I'm going to go kill Farouk my way. And she's like, okay, fine, let's get walking. And this is the second of 2 very long walking montages with split screen effects
that are gorgeous as well.
Oh, they're very pretty. Yeah, I'm not criticizing, especially when you hear Farouk and Oliver talking about, because they're a mile ahead. He says, Now, I'm sure that's just a visual representation of Oliver running in the desert, but in his head, there's like someone carrying them on like a cart, someone running out in front, and they're like sitting sipping Mai Tais in the cart.
It's pretty fantastic.
But he mentions that this is all designed, this place, it plays with your mind, time moves funny, and it's all designed to keep him away from himself. Like, that was all part of the plan. So it does help explain some of the weirdness that comes up, you know.
It's why, you know, this walk seems to take forever as well.
Yeah. Buildings fade in and out of existence. In fact, I actually had to laugh, because when David first arrives, he holds his thumb up out like that, and he's looking like, you know, he's moving around looking, and then he literally gets to a rock that's shaped like a thumb sticking up, that his hand would perfectly cover.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, that's the way. That's the way. Of course, he knows...
It's as good a sign as any, right?
Well, it is, and he knows, of course, to go this way in the first place, because Ptonomy, who's inside the machine, you know, Fukuyama, sorry, Basket Man, I'll just say Basket Man, it's easier.
Yes.
He's in there, and he actually accesses Fukuyama's memories and sees that he has a healing power. At least he did. I mean, obviously we've seen his face, so maybe it's not as good as it used to be. But we also see that he was recruited basically by the beginnings of Division 3 to be used for experiments and things like that. So he's got a pretty sad and dark past. We see that he had the nurse like by him as well, presumably the one who was knitting the older version last episode. So
I think it's interesting because this is the first part of this episode that is leaning into Noah Hawley's technology fear, shall we say? You know, Fargo season 3 dealt with it a lot, and this show's not really touched on it that much, but here it's starting to seep in. You know, like all of this is, Ptonomy's kind of hacked in, and he's accessing these private memories, and he's reaching out through the Vermilions. As you know, the anonymity is gone.
Yeah, he ends up taking over a Vermilion to tell David, because he's figured out where the body's buried, and that's what leads David on the trail. So, a lot of really big, cinematic vistas in this episode, and I thought the Sid-David relationship was pretty strong. I think by the time she went up and kicked him in the desert, and then them finding like a tent, there's a storm coming, there's this little tent, they go inside the tent, and there's like a version of themselves who have died of old age, or decayed maybe of hunger, however they died, but they died in there and they're holding each other, and you can tell it's them because of the necklace, so they know who it is, the compass around their neck. And, again, it's just very touching, but clearly they are trapped in some kind of, again, going with this place having some weird time rules, they're trapped here maybe in some kind of loop, and some kind of weird timey-wimey nonsense.
That's it. It almost, rather than it being a loop, this feels like an alternate version of, a version that could have been, but and the two are kind of just overlapping. Yeah.
And she, of course, is saying, hey, when the time comes, prove me wrong. When the time comes, be the hero, that kind of thing. Which is funny, actually, because I feel like there's some parallels to draw with this past season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you really want to, with stopping the future from happening.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
So you've got all that, and Farouk's getting close. So this is the build-up to get into the body. So I imagine we will get there next episode. We've only got, 3 left, so it makes sense that we're about to hit that point.
Yeah, it does. We can have then one big real showdown and then an epilogue, maybe.
Yeah, very possible. Very possible. It depends what happens when he gets his body.
It does, yeah.
Because we could go veering off into...
Yeah, it depends if they decide to go, no, we're just doing some, crazy setup for next season. Or if... Because season 1 was very self-contained, ultimately. It had a tease at the end. But it was, it pretty much... It told its story. It was very rounded. This, I don't know if it's going to be, or if it's going to just kind of run on now.
Yeah, it depends on how to go with it. And I think the Minotaurs are really exciting, because obviously this clearly represents something in Melanie, who's not had a lot of time this season. She's been kind of in the back seat compared to a lot of the other characters. And I wonder, this Minotaur, what it represents specifically in her. Is this her fear of Oliver never coming back that's being exploited? That's what's in there?
I definitely think it's a link to Oliver specifically. I don't know if it is a fear of him not coming back, or if it's just this is the representation of him in her mind.
I think it's less of him and more of both of them. Because a minotaur, of course, is a combination of two animals. There go relationship, a pair of people,
Sure.
and is injured. It's got that bizarre little wheelchair thing. So I'm like, okay, so it's not healthy, right? I know, maybe I'm stretching this.
No, I see what you're saying. The Oliver half of it is injured, right?
Yes, yeah. But I think it's no mistake that we see her being controlled or used to attack the other members, and then we see the Minotaur at the end of the episode. Very creepy, eerie conclusion to go out on. Just silently goes to the credits. It's a really nice touch. So that's really cool. I'm excited to see this plan play out. If the rest of them even get to the desert, if David's accounted for that, if he hasn't, and see what happens.
That's assuming he even means for the rest of them to get to the desert, and whatever they do. Whatever his plan is involving them might not involve them physically being there.
Well, at the very least, Lenny will be, because Lenny does get out and she does get on a motorbike and she does go off into the sunset, as it were. Yeah, that's why I'm speculating. Like, did he account for this interference by Melanie? Was he aware this was going to happen?
I want to assume not. I mean, making any assumption on this show is dangerous. But it feels like a wrench in the plan rather than something he's accounted for.
It does feel that way, at least now. But this is the sort of thing they could swerve us with and say, no, all of this was part of the master plan.
It could, yeah.
I knew all these dominoes would fall into place, and that's what was going to happen. Which we should talk about, of course, the infomercial, which came quite late in the episode this time.
It did, yeah. It was almost at the end.
Yeah. So this was the biggest and most worrying delusion of them all, as John Hamm put it. This was the belief that other people don't matter, that their feelings are inconsequential, and it kind of going back to that whole fear of technology thing. It kind of uses that, even though that's not exactly necessarily the core point. It uses that as the method of showing what this means.
Yeah. I think this is maybe the clunkiest of these pieces of the infomercials in general. It very much felt like, hey, get off your phones and everything will be better.
Yeah, it's because, like I said, I don't think the message was specifically that. I think that was just the modern example of it.
Right. But the way it was presented just felt very shallow.
Yeah, because the idea being that everyone feels separate from you, and the modern example is being on your phone, and they're just like avatars and online personalities from other places. They're not other human beings you actually interact with and consider as equals. You see yourself in a vacuum. And obviously, this is quite obvious how this relates to David. Like, because as Sid said, he's one of a kind. He can't, like, Farouk's maybe the only person that is on his level. I mean, arguably his father as well, if he was around.
David literally has a sensory deprivation tank where he can shut himself in and literally become alone.
And to go at the start of this, they talk about how you're in a cave, and the people are just, everyone there was just a shadow in the cave wall. Like, that's his cave. The deprivation tank is his cave. Yeah.
I thought it plays out really nice as well compared to, how all the flashback backstory stuff we got last season with, the Professor X stuff was all like the paintings. It kind of plays in nicely with, okay, paintings, shadows.
Again, it's all stories. He's not seen or really experienced any of this.
It's all just secondhand knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, and it's interesting, I think, to go back to Sid's conversation with Clark, her saying, how do you teach normal to someone who's one of a kind? It's not that he's at fault or that he's intentionally, like, thinking of himself differently. He just doesn't know how to actually consider these different things.
Yeah, how can he comprehend it when it's not in his nature?
It's something as simple as just leaving Sid a note, rather than actually thinking that maybe she'd want to be spoken to and included in this plan. It's just a sort of simple example of it. He didn't think that. He didn't consider that.
Yeah, it's the idea that to him, leaving a note was enough. Like if she'd left a note for him,
unless, like I said earlier, this was all planned. Like, he knew she was going to speak to Clark, and he actually planted the seed of using the parachute to get to him. I'm really
intrigued to see as what that gains. Her coming alone separately afterwards. What does that gain to him just not taking her in the first place?
Because he wants Melanie to overhear the conversation.
Maybe. Yeah, no, that tracks.
If Melanie was a part of the plan, then that would be why.
It's true. Yeah, okay. I guess if we're going with that sense, Melanie, the purpose of Melanie in David's plan is to essentially be the inside man for Farouk, right? You know, feed him false information, essentially.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole thing that was mentioned about how you let your opponent win early on to give them a false sense of confidence, and then you attack them later.
Yeah.
What was it? I think it was an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine that brought this up. Holt was talking about this philosophy.
This does sound like
it sounds like a Holt speech, doesn't it? But just you talking about it, no, it's like you give them some confidence to begin with. Because I actually think that Oliver, because he said he was going to destroy Farouk, and he was really smug about it a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
I actually think he's playing some long game, like from inside Farouk.
Do you know what I thought was really interesting at the end here is, after Oliver takes control of Melanie, I say Oliver because it's his perspective that we get here.
Yeah, it's his voice as well.
He says, she's mine. Oh, no, she's ours. And then he says, she's mine again. Like, he keeps flipping between, like, who's in control and how much he's willing to share.
Yeah. I think, Oliver's definitely kind of the dark horse from within. Because he's in there with Farouk, and he can maybe fight back. Maybe he's conserving his energy, maybe he's...
The problem is, Oliver may be what David hasn't accounted for. I think he's been so removed from David. Like he's spoke with Farouk in mentally. He knows all of his group because he's been around them. Oliver, he's had interaction with in season 1, limited interaction, admittedly, but there has been some. But it feels very much like he can't know where Oliver is right now in his state of mind.
See if they want to swerve us though. And it's actually the opposite of what you're saying, and he is accounting for Oliver. I think the reason why, and maybe the thing that's changed, right? The thing that's different. I don't want to start talking about timelines. I do that with so many shows, but
yeah, here we go again.
Just because we're talking about the future and we're talking about, I'm thinking the death of his sister and that process he went through, where he realised that this version of the sister that he had was the one that he had to have. Well, this is the one that had the success.
Yeah.
Where she accepted what was going on with him and it got him help.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe the key to him combating what this delusion was. This episode of him being separate from everyone and not seeing them as real people. That arguably that's the experience that let him understand in a way that he didn't before.
Could be. I think it's quite interesting that last episode it seemingly dealt with the delusion, right? That creature was defeated, and that was the delusion that we'd been warned about all season in these infomercials.
Or was it?
That's what I'm getting to. All episode, it's playing like that. Like there is no delusion anymore, and then you get to the end and you get the infomercial of but there's another delusion, right? There's the biggest delusion.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it was playing that there was no delusion anymore. I don't know if I'd agree with that.
Okay, I mean, in the sense of the show kind of wants you to put it aside, in the sense that it made it look like that was dealt with last episode, that delusion. So it's so now we're on a bit more of a level playing field because David was aware of it.
My counter to that is you're seeing patterns and you're making them fit because that's what makes sense to you.
Quite possibly.
That's my combat to that.
I can't argue with that because those are the rules now, apparently.
Yeah, that's what the show's told us, so you can't fight me on that. That's fine.
No, I can't.
It's I think ultimately, I think if the story of this season is David basically connecting with humanity in a way that maybe he's been kind of alienated from it before, and actually considering other people, that could be a really heartwarming story if that's kind of what the final point is. It's not that he's been evil up until now, because he's not by a long shot, but if the point of this story, if the arc of this season for David is to accept the equality of those around him, despite the fact that he can turn guns into mops and everything else he can do, that would be a really sweet story. And I mean, as cheesy as this sounds, if love defeats Farouk because he lets other people in, there's something to that.
No, I think that is something there, because Farouk is, he is so closed off and alone, right? And he is David turned up to the extreme on the evil side of things.
He's already been off that cliff. Yeah, he's off that deep end.
I think that's the thing here is David needs to connect because otherwise he just becomes Farouk essentially. So I think that is the story on some level. It's just how literal it's going to be because in this show, love literally saving the day could be a thing.
And instead of feeling cheesy in this show, it'll feel like a weird thought experiment.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it does that at times. No, it's fascinating. So so where are we at the end of this episode? Lenny's out. David's concocted a big plan for everyone to be a part of in the desert. We see glimpses of it as he's plotting it out. Lenny for sure is going to make it, but the others might not because of Melanie, who's been controlled by Oliver to fight them. At least Clark, if not everyone else.
Which may or may not be part of David's plan. David with Sid are in a time loop / alternate timeline tent where they're seeing their own dead bodies because it's basically a way for them to be kept from Farouk's trail. It's it's an obstacle. Farouk in Oliver's body is almost there to his body. Yeah,
that's the thing. Ptolemy is inside the machine and he's accessing not only the cameras and the views of everyone else but also the memories of Fukuyama himself, and we've seen now that he had healing abilities and was recruited at a young age for said healing abilities to help fight other mutants.
Yep.
Is that everything? Yeah, I think is that everything? I don't know.
We covered Melanie and Clark. We covered David and Sid.
Yep. That's
covered Farouk and Oliver. Covered Ptolemy. I mean, not much Carrie at the minute.
No, just a couple of brief glimpses, hopefully.
Well, yeah, a little bit to say, okay, no, they've got a part in the plan, but who knows? They've kind of been off the board right now.
Yeah. Worth mentioning as well, when David goes to see Lenny, she's doing this thing where she's eating her hair, and it's something that Amy used to do when she was stressed. Yeah. So there's like maybe small fragments of Amy kind of
still in there. Yeah.
I was kind of, I think I said this a week or two ago, but like it might be like a touching ending for Lenny if she like gives up herself to turn back into Amy. Like she's like, no, this is her body, let her have it back, if that's possible.
Exactly, we don't know.
We do not know, but there's potential there.
I think it could be really interesting if she kind of does do that, but they can't physically turn the body back.
So it's her but in Lenny's body.
Yeah.
Well, it's Amy's body but looking like Lenny.
Yeah, it's her body and her mind, but we still keep Aubrey Plaza around because that'd be cool.
That would be cool. She'd be a different character though. She wouldn't be acting quirky anymore. She'd be
right. But I think it would be really interesting to see David play off at that that version of his sister.
And that would actually fit into themes of the show where appearances are deceiving and deceptions and delusions. What is real, what is not real.
Right.
Because again, going back to, I think the Sid Clark conversation in this scene is one of the most important scenes of the episode. It sets out so much of the character drama and some of the themes that we're playing with. So, but that was one of the things, when he realizes that everyone around him is real. Again, so it plays into the infomercial. Yeah. So Legion, as always, messing with our minds. But we're really building up now to this showdown to get Farouk's body.
Yeah, so. It does feel like we're closing in on the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we got 3 episodes left because they bumped it up to 11, so we got 3 more.
Yep.
So we'll see what they do. But that's where we're left off. So, by all means, let us know what you thought of this episode and give us your own theories in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You can do that over there, but otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?